Welcome to another episode of NDG Introduction to Linux 1. Today we're going to go over Chapter 10, Standard In and Out. And to start, I'm going to try to make the screen a little bigger. That might be as big as it gets. All right. The first thing I wanted to go over was standard out. So generally what happens when you type in a command, like I said, we get an output to the screen. That is called standard out. So we're able to redirect that output to a file if we like. And the file that we're going to redirect this thing to is called blue.txt. And we're going to do that with an arrow that points to the right. So we just got done learning sed. So the sed command here is going to find red and replace it with the word blue. And then we're going to take that output and save it to a file called blue.txt. And we'll go over this in a second without the redirection. Recall that previously when we were running the command output to the screen. In this case, we're taking this output and we put it into a file. And if we look at the file, there it is. And if we look at the original file, you can see that previously it said red to start with there. All right. Consequently, if we want, so when we do that, that will rewrite the whole file. So if we did that command over again, it's going to write over everything, and we're going to get the exact same file that we started with, or the exact same list that we started with. If what you said you wanted to do was append that output to the end of the file, you add another arrow. And now if we take a look at the output, you can see that the output appended itself to the end, and now we have the same. And did I spell? Now we have those listed twice. All right. So that's not the only type of output that there is out there. There's a simultaneous stream that can be produced that displays all the error messages that might come up. So we call that standard error. An example of that would be if we were going to do the find command. And if we start the etc directory and look for password files that are in there, we can redirect, we can redirect the output to an output file. I will just put it here in our home directory. And you'll notice that when we do that, we get an error in addition to actually getting our output file. So if we look at output, you can see that we got some files there, but there was a directory that we were not able to access, and that gave us an error. So what we can do, if we don't want to see those error messages, is we can redirect them to a directory that basically deletes the output. You can call it the bit bucket if you want. The official directory is /dev/null. It's basically a black hole for all of the traffic that you don't want. So we hit that, and now you can see that output to text looks just the same. But we didn't get the error message. Consequently, if all we wanted was to output to the screen and get rid of the errors, we could do this, or we could just create an error file. And now when we look at the error file, you can see that we have our error right there. One other thing to note is that standard out is also referred to as 1. So if we wanted to overwrite error.text with the standard out, you could write a 1 in there. Since standard out is typically what gets redirected by default, the 1 is assumed. So we can do that. You can see we'll write over error.text. We'll get the error to the screen, but then if we look at error.text, now it's written over. Consequently, if we wanted to put both standard error and standard in to the same file, we can just and sign there. And that'll get both 1 and 2 sent to the error.text. And you can see that now we have all of the standard out, standard error, all in one file. There's other ways to do that. You can look them up in your book, but that's the basic idea. Standard in is a little less used, I should say. But there are certain commands where you will need to redirect from a file to standard input. So if you look at the output here, you'll notice that we don't have that in the test folder. All right, we have a CPIO archive. So we'll learn about this command later, but the important thing to know right now is that in order to be able to access this archive, we have to redirect that file as standard input into the command. There's not a lot of commands that work this way, probably because it's not very user-friendly. So -i-t is the CPIO command for listing what's in the archive. And now you notice that the arrow is pointed to the left. And if we do archive file, I don't think we need to give a relative path name there. It should find it just fine in the current directory. It lists all the files that are contained inside of that archive. So we've redirected the contents of this file using standard input into the CPIO command. And the CPIO command has other options, of course. This one lists the contents of the archive. So that's it. Good luck with the standard input and output.